If you look, I think you can find an interesting parallel between Sen, or Chihiro, and No Face in the film Spirited Away. And this is one really isolated point to discuss about the film, but it comes down to how the other workers in the bathhouse treat them both, because at first, they don't like Chihiro at all. She's a human. Humans smell funny. There may or may not be a critique on the way immigrants are treated coming into a new community there. I don't know, but they dismiss her as lazy and rude and that she doesn't deserve to be given a job. However, it then leads to the stink spirits, or the river spirit sequence in the film. This smelly customer that needs to be served because it has gold, but it smells and it's a horrible job, so they give it to Chihiro, only for her to excel at the job and actually cleanse the spirit. Turns out it's not a stink spirit at all, it's a river spirit that was simply polluted by the world's junk. Polluted partly, you'll notice, by gold. It's interesting for one how this big trial for Sen here of handling the stink spirit, how it basically boils down to a sequence of Sen has her first day at work. A child suddenly forced into the enormity of this adult world and having A, to succeed in her job, and B, try and find a sense of belonging within a world that can feel so very alien. It's great because that is something I think all of us can struggle with growing up, and that's seemingly what she achieves with the river spirit. She survives her first day at work. She proves to all of these doubters that she isn't lazy and rude and hopeless at working, that she can knuckle down and pull her weight, and really it's her empathy, I think, that leads her to triumph. Generally though, all of this earns her the respect of the other workers. They all celebrate and appreciate Chihiro after this. Even Yubaba, who at first wanted nothing to do with her, is now saying, "Everyone learn from Sen." It all feels so very positive and celebratory and like a great happy triumph at the halfway point of the film. Sen is accepted by this community, but is she really? There's this fascinating moonlight sequence to suggest that no, she's not, among other things, but I think there is a bigger point that, as I've said, has a lot to do with No Face. So, yeah, the thing is, why does Yubaba celebrate? It's pretty straightforward, I think. It isn't actually she's proud of Chihiro or feeling positive about her as a person or anything. It's that Chihiro happened to make her a lot of gold. We made so much money! You realise equally, a big deal of what makes the workers so much more approving of Chihiro is because of these exploits, they are all rewarded with free drinks for the night. Saki's on the house tonight. You know, of course they love her for that. If you went into a pub and offered to buy everyone's drinks, of course they would love you in appearance. The second your wallet dried up, the second Chihiro's exploits here wear off and she goes back to being another face in the community, would they still care? I mean, probably to some extent, yes. The point I'm making right now is slightly unfair, and I'm going to counter it in a second, but stick with me for the moment, okay? They love Chihiro when she makes gold and earns them all drinks. When it's revealed she's the one, however, that let No Face into the bathhouse when No Face is terrorising the place, suddenly they don't love her anymore. I don't want to be eaten by It's her. Is it friendship if you only like someone when it's to your very practical benefit? There's the parallel. They love No Face when he's showering them with gold. Fake gold, but never mind that, they don't know it's fake. The other workers don't care who he is or what he feels or anything, they simply address him as rich man without any interest in a possible name. Not once did any of them bother to consider anything beyond the gold. They appear to care, but only for what benefits them. Who is the guest? Oh, who cares? And then, when it's suddenly not to their benefit, now he's seen as a monster. And equally, I think, from No Face's perspective, there he is trying to buy attention, care, luxury, most of all connection from Chihiro, trying to buy that with things to her practical benefit, except with her it doesn't work, because her mind isn't so much on the practical gain, it's on understanding, I guess. Which is putting it very loosely, and as I said, I'm going to counter all of that now, because you could take what I just said and think it's a bit like saying all of the workers in the bathhouse are fake friends, shame on them, Chihiro is more true a person than that, or like whatever. I really don't like the idea of labelling anyone fake in general, but you know, who wouldn't feel more positive towards someone when their hard work earns you free alcohol? Who wouldn't equally turn on someone when you're here seeing people you know getting eaten, terrified you yourself are going to be eaten, and you're then told your hero is the cause for all of that horror? Of course they feel the way they feel. But most importantly, I think, of course they're seeing No Face only for his gold. They are spirits worked tirelessly for very little pay. Kamaji saves up a train ticket for 40 years. When he has one, Lin is amazed as if it were a winning lottery ticket. They live in cramped conditions, they are stripped of their names, identity, often all hopes of ever finding freedom again. So of course you'd be looking at No Face for his gold. It's not exactly because you're greedy or shallow or heartless or whatever, it's because you're desperate. Gold would be your ticket out of this place you don't want to spend the rest of your life.
I've got to get out of this place. Someday I'm getting on that train.
Which I think is ultimately the point of this specific parallel between Chihiro and No Face. It's a point about what the culture and environment of this bathhouse does to people. When Sen comes in as this stranger, stripped of her name and identity, she is met with tired, cynical, bitter faces who treat her with contempt or, at best, indifference. It takes something of personal benefit before they even bother, and in reverse, when she causes trouble that makes their lives even worse, they draw away from her. Just the same, when No Face enters this as an identityless stranger, newly addressed as rich man, he is, well, I suppose at a stretch you could say he is invisible to all of them until he starts throwing gold about. That's the moment they start to take an interest. And then he starts eating people and they turn away. Chihiro has to lead him away. She says,
I think being in the bathhouse makes him crazy. He needs to get out of there.
Or in the original she says that it's bad for him. I don't think it means a literal or like magical sense that being in that building causes him to not be himself. It's not like a curse or something. It's just that this is the psychological effect of that social environment, of that culture Yubaba has created within her workforce. Every single worker before turned up at that bathhouse one day and also had their name and identity stripped and were worked in horrible conditions until they lost themselves. It can happen. I'm sure most of us can relate to that feeling to some extent. The stress, the exhaustion, how it wears you down. And when everyone else in the organisation is feeling the same way, how that seems to make it even harder. And a bathhouse is an extreme condition of that. Like, say, if you work for Amazon, or if it's Nike, or whatever other example. I cannot imagine how hard that would be. Kamaji is quite a sweet old man in this film when you get the opportunity to connect with him, but until then he's grouchy and a bit mean and cold. The same could be said for Lin, for Haku, for any of them. I think under enough strain you stop seeing deeper and empathising with people, and they likewise stop opening up or trying to reach you. Chihiro is an ordinary 10-year-old girl in a lot of ways, but her superpower really is her empathy, or one of them. And empathy is never easy in situations of stress and pain. Very commonly it can get blocked. That's what blocked care literally is, or compassion fatigue. And if you don't find a support to get through that, it can pull people apart. It can create an environment that benefits no one. But Chihiro remains open and empathetic, and ultimately that's what will transform a lot of the bathhouse by the end of the film. It comes from connection. Chihiro never wanted gold, she wanted her parents, she wanted Haku. No Face never really wanted food and luxury, he was trying to fill a hole left by a lack of connection, among other things. He wanted Sen for that reason, and then found peace at Zaniba's partly for that reason. Through empathy and care, these workers generally find connection again, and I think that probably helps them reconnect to themselves once more. I think it makes a difference. No, it doesn't solve everything. They're still trapped under the rule of an only marginally changed Yubaba, and there still are a lot of problems that no 10-year-old girl is able to solve. But maybe it's the best you can expect from her. Maybe Haku will take the next steps.
I'll go back and have a talk with you, Baba.
So in a way, it's not really a parallel between Chihiro and No Face, it's just both of them go on similar journeys when coming to and leaving the bathhouse. They have their differences, obviously. This video isn't a character analysis of either of them, but No Face seeks connection only to lose himself in the bathhouse and needs the kindness of Chihiro to lead him away. Fittingly, the previous morning, Chihiro had also been losing herself in the bathhouse until the kindness of Haku led her away to see her parents, to cry to reconnect to her feelings again. Which is a slight stretch. There are some similarities we could delve into deeper there, which I have done in part with my big long series attempting to analyse pretty much every moment from this film. I'll link that series down below if you're interested. A new episode is on its way soon, but what is the point I'm making? I suppose it really is just saying stress makes it easy to lose connection. And whilst this film definitely wants to celebrate the heroism of someone like Chihiro, the great strength and inner resources, and how a bit of empathy can make a big difference to a social environment, yes, at the same time it also wants to criticise extreme working conditions, I think, to say whilst she is heroic, it's also no weakness of these workers to become jaded and bitter. It's no fault really. The same would also probably happen to Chihiro if she was stuck there long enough. So I don't know, I think it's trying to do both those perhaps slightly contradictory things, celebrate Chihiro's strength and also criticise the culture, to criticise the fact some heroic child of all people is even needed to come in and transform this community in the first place. And again there, her successes are still technically quite limited. It's only really Haku, No Face and her parents that she concretely makes a big difference for. Also, that criticism of labour is probably quite ironic considering Ghibli's track record for treating workers badly, so I might be wrong, but hey, this small video is technically an extract from a much bigger video about Spirited Away that I've reworked slightly and added a few other bits here as a standalone thing. I am working on my 5th video in that obsessively long Spirited Away series. Starting that series was the first thing I ever did on YouTube, so it is my original passion, I guess. I've changed a lot since that first video and there are faults, but I still really love it. So yeah, watch that if you want. Look forward to another installment maybe. Let me know what you think about this little isolated discussion. Do you agree? Am I talking nonsense? What have I missed, left out, gotten wrong? Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe. Maybe even support me on Patreon. But otherwise, let me bombard you with this. World Anvil is a really cool thing, and they're still sponsoring me till death do us part. Listen to me passionately talk about them. World Anvil is an online tool for world building, the anviling of worlds, character creation, campaign building, story planning and even writing, and a load more stuff that can be great for anyone with creative projects or games. I use it for the planning of my novel. My organisation is chaotic, so World Anvil really helps. I love the way you can create timelines of events with hyperlinks from those pages to a character bio or some other event or information or whatever. Like, my memory isn't the best for the minor details of stuff I invent, so when I'm reading back information about the history of my novel's world and I think, who is this person? I can only half remember. Or what order did these events happen in? Why did that become a social custom? Whatever. I can very easily click a hyperlink to a different page I wrote and check. The ability to create entire timelines based on your own invented calendars and be able to link everything to it, including changes in the maps for if a city gets destroyed or something like that. That is so damn cool. And there are other tools too. Not all of them are ones I need for my novel personally, but they all still look really handy and I've always found everything pretty easy to use. If it's your thing, they also have a Discord and they run all sorts of events and community support and stuff like this summer camp they've been running. It's all really great and I enjoy getting to promote them. So there is a link in the description and there's a pinned comment that entitles you to 51% off. Yep, it's 51 now. All their subscriptions with the code TREE. If you want to try it out first, they have a free version so you can get familiar, you know, take your time, take it out for a nice dinner and see where things lead. Yeah. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Luke Core, Treat You Caber, Michael Gallagher, Flying Spider, Kellyanne Davidson, Billy Lee Myers Jr., Samara Salsi, Joshua C. Follier, Chad Bramwell and Michael Hart. Thank you.